epic quarterfinal showdown. AlexEala and Nadiia Kichenok versus Russian stars in Guangzhou Open doubles. The humid air of Guangzhou hung thick with anticipation as the sun began descent behind the grand stands. The stadium was alive, buzzing, roaring, almost trembling under the collective energy of thousands of fans. At center stage, Alexa, the fearless Filipino rising star, Nadiia Kichenok, the battle-tested Ukrainian, veteran ready to face one of the toughest challenges of their campaign. The Russian doubles juggernauts known for their power, precision, and ruthless aggression. It was the Guangzhou Open quarterfinals, and the stakes had never been higher. For Eala, this was another chance to prove that she belonged in the upper echelons of world tennis, not just as a promising young player, but as a force of her own making. For Kichenok, it was a moment of resurgence, a chance to channel years of experience into something truly transcendent. Together, they stood at the crossroads of destiny and defiance, setting the stage clash of styles. The matchup was mouth-watering. On one side, Eala and Kichenok, an emerging partnership built on chemistry and calculated aggression. On the other, Anastasia Popova and Veronika Kirova, two Russians with heavy serves, explosive forehands, and a reputation for overwhelming their opponents with pure power. Commentators had dubbed it the Battle of Harmony versus Havoc. Eala's tactical intelligence paired with Kiten's net mastery was a contrast to the Russians' brute force baseline dominance. The fans knew they were in for a spectacle, a match that wasn't just about skill, but heart, will, and the art of adaptation. The court gleamed under the floodlights as Eala bounced the first ball, the sound of it hitting the strings. A sharp, clean pop was a calm before the storm. First set, the fire ignites. The first rally lasted 18 shots. The Russians attacked relentlessly, firing ground, strokes like missiles, pushing Eala deep into defense. But the 19-year-old refused. A yield, sliding, sprinting, counter, punching. She turned defense into art. Her two-handed backhand carving to the court like a blade. Kichenok held firm at the net, intercepting volleys and punching through the gaps with surgical precision. Their coordination was poetry. In motion, at 3-3, the turning point came. Komatova sent a 190 kilometers per hour her down the middle, but Eala met it perfectly, returning it low and fast, forcing a half volley that Kichenok smashed into the open court. Break, point. Eala clenched her fists, her eyes burning with focus. The next rally saw the Filipina dictating the pace, forcing errors from the Russian duo. When the ball sailed wide, the crowd erupted 6-3. The first set belonged to Eala and Kichenok, but no one in the stadium dared relax. They knew the Russians always bite back. Second set, the counterattack. The Russians returned with fury. Kirova, known for her explosive baseline control, began to dominate with deep flat drives that pinned behind the baseline. Popova took command of net, slamming volleys with ferocity. Eala and Kichenok suddenly found themselves under siege. The momentum shifted like a wave. Errors crept in, tiny cracks at the Russians, widened with each point. A misty backhand here, a double fault there, and suddenly it was 2-5. But champions don't crumble. They adapt. Eala called for a quick huddle. Kichenok nodded. They chained formation, mixing serve and volley plays with quick poaches, drawing the Russians into uncomfortable exchanges. The crowd sensed a comeback. Every point became a battle cry. I began to paint the lines. Again, her forehand a weapon of chaos. Kichenok's smashes became thunderbolts. From 2-5, they clawed back to 5-5. The Russians looked, rattled, but on their third set point, Kimova unleashed an ace that sliced through the humid air like lightning. Set 2, 7-5 to Russia. The match was tied, the tension unbearable. Final set, hard over power. The final set was more than tennis. It was war in motion. Each rally was a story of survival. Every service statement, every return, a refusal to bow. Eala's footwork was mesmerizing. She anticipated like a veteran, lunging at impossible angles, flipping defense into offense with one swing. Kichenok, her mentor on court, moved like a shadow, always in sync, always ready. At 3-2, they found their rhythm again. Eala's backhand down. The line caught the Russians' flat foot. Breaking served the delight of the crowd. A sea of Filipino flags waved in the stands. The chants of Eala, Eala, Eala filled the night. But the Russians weren't done. They broke back, immediately leveling at 4-4. You could feel the weight of history pressing down for Eala. Reaching the semifinals here meant more than a victory. It meant validation. It meant a step closer to putting Philippine tennis on the global map. At deuce in the ninth game, Kichenok fired a serve wide. Potapova barely managed to return it. Eala sprinted forward, slicing a volley at an impossible angle that clipped the net. Cord and dropped dead. The crowd gasped, then exploded. 5-4, one game. Away. The final game, Destiny's door. Kitchen at the serve for the match. The Russians tightened their stance. Potapova crouched low, eyes locked in, ready to pounce. First serve, ace. Second point. Eala intercepts a volley and smashes it into the corner. Third point, double, fault. The tension spiked. 15-30. The next rally was chaos. The Russians attacked Eala's forehand relentlessly, but the Filipina held her ground. Backhand, forehand, slice lob. It was an orchestra resistance. Finally, Kichenok poached and ended the rally with a volley winner. 30-30, the next serve, a missile. Popova barely touched it. 40-30, match point. The stadium fell. Silent. You could hear the distant hum of the city, the thud of a bouncing ball, the whispered destiny. Looking ahead, the semifinal awaits. The journey isn't over. Their next challenge looms large. A top-seeded European pair with reputation for tactical brilliance. But for Eala and Kichenok, every match is a new canvas, a new opportunity to surprise, inspire, and defy expectations. Eala summed it up perfectly in her post-match tweet. Quarterfinals equals conquered white every check mark. Semifinals equals loading flex biceps. Proud to fight with this team. Philippines handshake Ukraine, hashtag Guangzhou. Open hashtag, never give up the picture that. Accompanied at midair, racket raise her. Face a port of determination captured. Everything this campaign stood for. Belief, bravery, and boundless potential. Epilogue the spirit of a champion as a night deepened over Guangzhou the courts. Emptied and the lights dimmed, but somewhere in the players' lounge, laughter echoed. Eala and Kichenok tired, but elated, still bask in the afterglow of victory. They knew the road ahead would be tougher, but they also knew something far more important. They could trust each other, and that trust forged with fire would carry them wherever the game demanded next. The Guangzhou Open had just witnessed a classic, a match that wasn't defined by rank or reputation, but by heart, unity, and unshakable will, because when Alex, Eala, and Nadiia Kichenok step onto a court, they don't just play tennis. They tell a story, one of courage, collaboration, and the unstoppable power of belief. And in that story, this quarterfinal wasn't just a match. It was a moment of magic, a symbol of history and a promise of greatness still to come. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share. Till next